State championship weekend rolls on in the state capital of Columbia. Palmetto State showdown between the Swamp Foxes of Ashley Ridge and a returning Ridgeview Blazers squad for the 5A title. Our broadcast brought to you by A&I Fire and Water Restoration. With that, we welcome you back to the state capitol alongside a legend in this sport, both as a player and a coach, a Hall of Famer, Doug Lau, Jason Patterson with you. We're glad you've chosen to be with us. And Coach, this one circled at the start of the year, and when you're one of the two teams that can get here at the end of the year, it's always something special. Well,
it's two heavyweights going at it tonight. The two of the best 5A teams, and Ridgeview, wow, what do you say about them? 6 out of 8, they've won state championship, defending state championship. Ashley Ridge is a good team, but they're in an uphill battle.
Got a work cut out for them here tonight. Let's take a look at some of the individuals we will be keeping an eye on. These are our players to rely on, also brought to you by Fire and Water Restoration by A&I. Coach, who do you highlight here?
Well, Everett for Ashley Ridge, you know, almost 22 points a game. He's going to have a big game. He's a junior, length, and can get to the basket. R.J. Davis, got to keep him off the boards. Got to keep him off the boards. He is long, 6'6", about that, and got to keep him off the board.
Those are the A&I Fire and Water Restoration players to rely on when it comes to keys to this game. Go ahead and walk us through what is your Ingles food for thought.
Ridgeview is so good defensively. They body you, pressure you, physical you, so they're going to have to handle that pressure if you're Ashley Ridge. And then keeping them off the boards, easier said than done. So that's what we got to look for tonight.
Those are your keys to the game. They're brought to you by Ingles. That's the food for thought. Ingles, low prices, love the savings. We give you the thumbs up on the Lexington Health Injury Report that everybody you're expecting to go tonight is ready to go tonight. So we are moments away from the 5A Division I classification boys state title game. Ridgeview and Ashley Ridge collide on the other side of the break. Back in the state capitol is the Class 5A Division I state title matchup. Ridgeview, Ashley Ridge just about ready to get it done at Colonial Life Arena. And we welcome you back with a look at our Palmetto Pride starting lineups. We'll begin with the crew out of the low country. Here's the starting unit for Ashley Ridge.
Well, again, I focus on Clayton Everett. He is a senior. I think I misspoke a while ago. He's going to have to, you know, get his average almost for them to stay in the game.
Those are your Palmetto Pride starting lineups. Finish up by giving you a look at the champs. You said it, they've been here so often. Back again, and familiar names dot this starting lineup.
Right, and you know, they're a team that doesn't think they can win. They expect to win, and they've got a strong lineup, and basically they're a young team. So good luck with everybody next year.
And those are your Palmetto Pride starting lineups, keeping South Carolina beautiful. And they're taking care of business in that department. Here is a look at Coach Davils, the Ashley Ridge head coach. As you can see, he's 8 years into his tenure there. You think about what he's done to get this team here in this championship environment.
Right, they've had a tough road to get here. They've won over 20 games, so they're battle tested. And you know, hey, it's kind of like a David and Goliath. You know, they want a chance to say, hey, we can beat these guys.
15-1 start, got it right in the playoff environment down the stretch, has bookended a tremendous year. And you know by now, the guy who's on the other side, he's coaching his son again this time around. And what a combo the Staleys have been in South Carolina basketball. Josh Staley, Ridgeview's head coach, poised to try and capture another.
Right, and you know, his son, the quarterback of that team, and he made the winning basket against Burns last week in the Upper State Championship. He'll have his handprint on this game from start to finish.
That, of course, is Talon Staley, who is filling up your screen right now. He's a senior this time, so this is the last dance together for the father-son combination Staley. And the Ridgeview Blazers set to do battle with the Ashley Ridge Swamp Foxes. That's a great South Carolina nod and a South Carolina name. And they're in colors that are very familiar to this location, the home of the Gamecocks. We welcome you to Columbia. We thank you for joining us on the Sinclair family of networks for our tip-off. The Real Deal Countertops tip-off gets us started. Real Deal Countertops. We are the real deal. Coach, this 5A championship battle, the real deal, as is this block to get it started. And Colin, who said, take it on out of here. And now on the other end of the floor, under control, he'll take care of business from the left side.
Well, they had a great backdoor cut. It looks like a layup, and then boom, here he comes from nowhere, blocks the shot. Easy two on the other end.
That's the junior guard, JT, making his presence known right away. And a quick whistle as you get a look at Shane Pinckney. He's working his way back for Ashley Ridge. Goes into the hands of Talon Staley. What can you tell us about this tremendous athlete?
Well, like I said, he's going to be a dominant factor handling the ball. He can get to the basket. He made some real winning plays against Burns in the upper state, or they wouldn't be here.
Well, he as you said, separated them in that contest. They went on an 8-0 run down the stretch, and he had the three that separated it when the score was tied. He scored 24 points in the contest, did the senior point guard who stands at 6'3". They work it inside here. His coach, his father, looks on as R.J. Davis, one of his key teammates, and a sophomore, goes to the line. And our first of the Stewart Law free throws.
Yeah, so they force, a three from outside, probably willing to give that up. But then now the problems start. Can we keep them off the glass? And there's R.J. Davis, with a chance to get points on the board, but he comes up empty.
R.J. Davis coming off a great semi against the Rebels of Burns. He was a 23-point performer, 6 rebounds, 5 blocks, had 4 assists at R.J. Davis. And again, he's just a sophomore. You see him guarding out top against Everett Jr. And a foul called as Pinckney was trying to drive the lane. Have not yet introduced you to our officials. We'll do this just ahead of the inbound. Down on the baseline, we've got Richie Jeffcoat, Gerard Workman, and Shante DeMurray, our officials in this one. Congratulations to those three for being selected to call the 5A championship game. And early, they got some whistles.
Well, there's Clayton Everett getting to the basket, and that's what he does well. I've seen him on film. He can get to the rack. And what makes Ridgeview tough, I mean, they can basically switch any position 1 through 5, and that makes it tough on your offense. Well,
he makes the first of his Stewart Law Office's free throws. One moment can change your life. Stewart Law Offices is there, 25 years protecting you. Check them out, stewartlawoffices.net today, sponsoring our free throws in this first quarter. And he's a 22-point, as you said, on average scorer, 8.6 rebounds, and he shoots 51% from the field. So a high percentage shooter. You can see that from the free throw line as he does good work there to put the first 2 on the board for Ashley Ridge. Yeah, very high percentage shooter, and he's got a good future ahead of him for sure. So a bucket apiece from the free throw line. The 2 points are secured for Ashley Ridge, and Ridgeview and Ashley Ridge underway in this 5A title game. Well, how do you break this one down, Coach, when you look at, in some ways, a Goliath-like Ridgeview has been in South Carolina high school basketball in recent years, and an Ashley Ridge team that started so strong has finished so strong down the stretch? What do they have to do to kind of hang around in this one in many ways? Well, obviously you would like to get off to a good start, keep this thing close in the first quarter, but they're relentless on defense, and you'll see this same intensity all through the game. From the corner, there's a 3 at a rim out. That was Geathers, Javion Geathers, tremendous shooter. He averages just over 9 per contest, does the junior. Under control is C.J. Moore. That length is what you worry about, and you don't realize how hard that is when you've got one of those guys out there with his hands up. This is the answer for it on the other end, though. Ben Duncan with a 3 ball. Well, they were in a 1-2-2 trap at half court, and, you make them pay if you can get the ball out and score, which they did. Off the window on the other end, and they begin to trade baskets now as both teams seem to have found comfort here in Colonial Life Arena. So if you got at the top of that trap, you've got a 6'6" player that's long, can make your life miserable out there if you're a guard trying to bring the ball up the court. Staley with a basket, Moore with a basket, and a takeaway that gives that Ridgeview crew the basketball again. Down the right side, they will count the bucket for D.J. Wiley. The junior guard will go to the line for one more. Well, as soon as he picked up the basketball, he knew he was going all the way to the basket, and really with a strong finish and got the and one off the window.
three-point play opportunity.
Now Robert DJ, as he is known, Wiley, the junior, looking for three, as you said, the old-fashioned way here. And an Ashley Ridge lead of 4. It'll hold steady at 3 as that's front of the iron. And the rebound into the hands of Everett Jr. Swamp Foxes up the floor with it. Of course, their name, South Carolina lore, as we referenced a moment ago, a nod to the Swamp Fox, which was who, Coach?
Francis Marion.
You got it, Francis Marion, the Swamp Fox. And hey, we're in the 250th anniversary year of the American Revolution, and South Carolina is so pivotal in the winning of that American Revolution and the independence for the United States of America, this wonderful land in which we live. So nice to see a set of Swamp Foxes out there on the floor as a nod to that South Carolina and American history.
And all of our viewers are getting a good history lesson
there you
from
go.
you, Jason.
Well, you know, it is the South Carolina High School League. These are student athletes. If the word rings true anywhere any longer, it's right here with these high school players who are student athletes. And the Swamp Foxes of Ashley Ridge right now with their hopes resting on Everett Jr., who is back at the free throw line for another Stewart Law Office's free throw. Won't happen. Rebounded away to C.J. Moore. Anytime we could show a little pride in the land, right? And certainly in the state of South Carolina, this Palmetto State, which has contributed so much history in the chapters it has written. It's nice to sit here in the state capitol and remember on a night like this. 8-5 start for Ridgeview. They're going to have the ball inbound here. What do you expect on this play?
Well, I've seen them throw the lob up there, but they didn't do it that time.
Instead, going to be Horton, and he'll have it rim out. That was Chris Horton. He's a junior guard, was trying to work his way into the scorebook.
He's coming off a really good game in the upper state. I think he made 5 threes in that ball game, so he's a shooter.
Every point he secured was a three-point basket in that contest, Coach. He was, as you said, a key contributor. Down the lane it goes, and that's going to be offensive. Standing in there and taking the charge was Ben Duncan. It'll go the other way.
Hey, give that young man credit, because here's a strong athlete coming down that lane, and he stood there and took the punishment. Really good. Man, you can't teach that any better than that.
Well, remember, J.T. Van Callen got the scoring started for Ridgeview a little bit earlier, and he had designs on adding to his point totals there. But the junior guard whistled for the player control foul. Here's Ashley Ridge.
They're just straight up man-to-man for Ridgeview.
3-ball rims out. Here comes Horton.
Whoa, almost.
Going for broke was Geathers.
Good pass.
And the control was there. That went everywhere but down around the world. And this will be offensive. Stepping in and taking the charge was Mack, the senior. And it'll take us to break with a fast start in the 5A state championship game between Ridgeview and Ashley Ridge. Champs are back. Ashley Ridge hanging with them in the early going from Columbia. Back in Columbia at the state championship contest. A reminder, we got the 1-800-JUNK halftime report coming your way in just a bit. You'll meet a member of the South Carolina High School League staff. We'll have stats, highlights, and a whole lot more. That's the 1-800-GOT-JUNK halftime report coming your way when Ashley Ridge and Ridgeview take their intermission. Of course, Ridgeview out of the Midlands and Ashley Ridge out of the Low Country. We were giving you a little South Carolina history a moment ago. You know, they believe in the Low Country that the Ashley and Cooper Rivers come together to form the Atlantic Ocean. That's the story that is told in the lore from here. And so Ashley Ridge, quite a location to be represented here. And you know what Ridgeview has been in the Midlands. And Coach, whether in those swing regions they end up lower state, upper state, whatever it is, this team has proven a force to be reckoned with.
That's a good point. Last year Ridgeview was lower state team.
Yes.
Oh, you don't want to see that if you're Ashley Ridge. That's too easy.
That was well designed off the
inbound
and nicely done. You can see why this team has been so successful. As we were saying, regardless of whether they roll through one side of the bracket or the other.
Right. They're a tough out. It doesn't matter where you put them.
He ended up taking care of business against a talented Burns Rebels team to make it back, as you said, and taking care of business all across the course of the season. You know, and the schedule they play early on, now battle tested long before they ever hit the region. This this team has become a national power.
Well, you look at their schedule, and a couple of their losses this year are to teams not in South Carolina.
Right.
I mean, they're these basketball factories, and they can certainly play toe-to-toe with them.
Well, and there is a coaching connection here as well, right? If you look back in days gone by, Coach Donald's coaching Coach Staley when he was a player, and these two ending up with a sharing of this moment, and a little nod to that in the press conferences early, and their familiarity with one another and how much impact the game of basketball has had on their relationship.
I didn't realize that.
Here comes the toss across the floor, and put it down at the top of the key before Geathers backs it out just a bit. Formative in his playing days, a guy who's become one of the great coaches in South Carolina now, Coach Staley. And a bit out of control, and there's another offensive foul. Seeing a number of those on both ends of the floor, Coach.
Well, both teams are going to stress that defensively, and he was a little bit out of control. He wanted to get to the rack, but kid from Ashley Ridge made a great defensive play again. I think that's the second charge that he's taken in this game.
On this end,
right.
Had one on the other end a moment ago,
right.
and you said it. It speaks to the physical nature of what we're watching, but you're right. He twice has stepped in there and handled that piece of business. Everett, that's through the hands of his intended target there, Ward, but it stays with the Foxes only for a moment. Traveling call will hand it over to the Blazers.
Well, their defense, again, it just speeds you up and then gets you playing faster than you want to, and they've got the athletes to do it. And if you play for Coach Staley, you can be athletic as can be, but if you don't play defense, you won't be on the court.
Boy, nice backdoor look.
Great look.
Everything you wanted. Mack is going to lay it home. Jordan Mack getting the job done. Mack just the latest to add his name to the group, having scored in this first period for a Ridgeview team, more than doubling up Ashley Ridge now.
They're forcing them way out, away from that three-point line.
Yeah, Jai Gibbs gave that up, and then there's a zip pass into the interior to try to get it to Reamer. It was not to be. Corner three. And that is nothing but true. A safe Federal Credit Union three. A statement three.
That's the old microwave. He came off the bench. He's hot.
I love that coach's terminology. And here goes into the bench for Ridgeview. That's what you're looking for as a coach, right? When you say, hey, I'm calling your number and pointing to your name, that's what you want to see.
Right, and I'm sure, he comes off the bench and he knows he's supposed to take those shots. And it's a good thing defensively because he's pressuring the ball out here. But, hey, if you get by him, you've got two guys in there 6'6" that you've got to contend with.
Here's a look on the other end, a little too strong from Pinckney. And fighting in there to make something happen, and Everett Jr. simply would not be denied. Clayton Everett Jr. with a basket.
He took a little contact and still was strong enough to get it up to the basket.
Out front of everybody. And laying it in is Pinckney.
So Ashley Ridge turned up the pressure that time, created turnover.
First points of the contest for Pinckney, the senior guard, who averages 10.9 per contest. And it'll go the other way, so a little spurt here from Ashley Ridge in the final minute of the quarter.
Ridgeview getting a little bit of their own medicine. They're pressuring the ball now, forcing turnovers.
Ben Duncan checking back into the contest for the balance of it, this final 30 seconds of the period.
Well, I normally would say 30 seconds, hold it for the last shot. Good luck against Ridgeview trying to do that.
Yeah, with as many bodies as they'll send out on you. Obviously no shot clock in high school basketball in the Palmetto State. So if you opt to do so, you can hang on to it for a while. Not much time left in this quarter, though. Just 3 seconds, and just ahead of the horn, Shane Pinckney closes the quarter out strong.
What a great finish for Ashley Ridge. played the clock down, make the basket. Boy, what a bonus. You make the basket. Now you go in, you're only down 3 points.
Make it a one-possession game with a strong surge at the end of the first period. Good one going in the 5A title matchup. Welcome you back. Before the start of the second period, we have a chance to look at our Palmetto Bath stats from the first quarter. Coach, what stood out to you numbers-wise?
Well, I always go to rebounds first, and they're basically even right there. 8 for Ridgeview, 7 for Ashley Ridge. So to stay in the game and compete with them, you have got to keep them off the board.
Palmetto Bath, experts in fast, beautiful tub and shower remodels. They serve Columbia, Greenville, and Asheville. You can learn more at palmettobath.com. And for those of you in the low country, the Holy City Heating and Air points in the paint coming your way now. Here's the split at 10-4 for Ridgeview.
Right, and you kind of expect that with the size advantage they have. But I tell you, I'm very impressed with the way Ashley Ridge is competing, and they don't want to go away.
Those points in the paint will be brought to you by Holy City Heating and Air, providing solutions for every season. That's Holy City Heating and Air. And the crew from the low country with a strong finish to the first quarter, so that it is a one-possession basketball game as Ridgeview goes to work in the second. Such an experienced crew, used to being in this environment. Now, a return to the building from their early days of impact as we work back to Colonial Life Arena for the first time in several campaigns. But this Ridgeview team, wherever the championship is being held, you get the sense they're going to be there. Coach, they had to come from behind a couple of times to make that reality, though. They were down in that contest to Burns. They trailed at 1 point. Dorman hasn't mattered, found their way back here. And it hasn't mattered the hole they were in early. Everett and company battling back.
Well, that's a good point. They were behind to Dorman and Burns in the second half and then pulled it out.
So this is a team able to come from behind, certainly loving to play out front. With work like that, they can do so. DJ Wiley with another interior bucket.
All right, you don't get any easy buckets hardly against them. So we'll see how this plays out as we get over the course of this game.
Everett Jr. needing a little help. He'll have it from Duncan, who received the pass, but as he received it down into the corner, they'll whistle to travel as Reamer handled the basketball. And now here's another inbound for Ridgeview. Yeah, when you're the hunted and the target is on your back and you can still roll through the season and then, of course, the state championship tournament, and the way Ridgeview has, what do they always say, Coach? Having success is one thing, sustaining it is another.
Well, and I know a little bit more about the upper state, but for Ridgeview to go through and you beat Dorman, you beat Burns, you've beaten 2 of the top teams in this state.
And they've done it whatever side of the bracket, as we've said, they've been on. How about this slice of the lane? Everett Jr. showing some flashes of brilliance here.
Well, he's an all-state player and averages over 20, so you know, you kind of hope that your star comes to the party.
Yeah, 9 rebounds, 22 points, and we set it up over 50% as a shooter across the course of this season. And how about the follow from R.J. Davis? Relentless underneath.
Well, it's kind of like, you know, he had an awkward-looking first shot, but he gets it off the glass and then sticks in a layup. So there's that link. Yeah.
Take a look at this. This has got to be another Ridgeview bucket that just showed the toughness that R.J. Davis plays with underneath. Now he goes to the free throw line. This is a preferred appliance free throw for the and one, and he's true. At 6:05 to go, runs it back out to 3.
Yeah, good-looking young player, only a sophomore.
Plenty of movement for Ashley Ridge. 3 is off. 3 brings it down. That's R.J. Davis I'm speaking of, cleaning the boards. And how about the weave through traffic for Van Callen?
That was pretty. And not easy, I might add.
No, boy, what J.T. Van Callen has done, just impressive. And another turnover that's going to give it back to Ridgeview, up 22-17 on Ashley Ridge at the 5.5-minute mark of the 5A Division I State Championship game. Our broadcast presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration.
Yeah, and you look down the roster and you see these plays being made, and You know, you're seeing, you know, sophomore, junior, you know, so tough.
And that's a junior again, and that's 2 straight trips, this time off the glass for JT Van Kalen. And quite a roll on the other end. They needed an answer, and it seems like every time that's been the case, Shane Pinckney has provided it in this game.
That was acrobatic. I tell you, that was a tough shot that he was able to put down.
Pinckney, who had 17 in the semifinal contest and averages right at 11 per game. Little fake, and Staley, deadly from anywhere on the floor.
When he's hitting that 3-point shot consistently, then it's a nightmare because he can get downhill and get to the basket.
Remember, Talon Staley one shy of the quarter-century mark the last game out. And here come the Blazers again. Boy, just those second and third opportunities and looks and all the length, Coach, that the Blazers throw at you. It's tough.
It's a nightmare, really. And you know, that time I'm sure he felt like he should finish that off right there, but got to the basket, get out in transition, but tough to stop.
DJ Wiley back of the iron on the first Preferred Alliance free throws. Preferred Alliance is your trusted appliance sales and repair experts. That is Preferred Appliance. And a timeout taken as Coach Brad Dabbles wanted to talk things over. One more reminder, we'll have the 1-800-GOT-JUNK halftime report coming your way in about 4.5 minutes from now, game action-wise. It will give us a chance to visit with someone from the South Carolina High School League, as well as show you the stats, highlights, all that and a whole lot more as a part of the 1-800-GOT-JUNK halftime report. Well, if it were halftime right now, what would be your takeaways from this first half, Coach?
Well, Ridgeview is as good as advertised.
Yes.
They're athletic, length, defensive. They just come at you in waves. They're really good.
Just when you surge to make it a 3-point game, you look up and you're perhaps facing a double-digit deficit in the blink of an eye. That's how quickly this team can do it. And DJ Wiley completes that trip to the Preferred Appliance free throw line with another to make it 28-19.
And there's that 1-2-2 with the 6-6 out front. Almost turned them over. And now you settle in man-to-man, switching everything.
Well, seeing the window, he takes it toward the bucket, but gathers a little strong off the glass.
Yeah, you get your shoulder by the guy, but then you've got to put a little more elevation to your shot, and it's just not a normal shot right there.
Stays with the Swamp Foxes, but ends up working its way into the hands of Ridgeview again. Boy, valiant effort to try and stop that, and somehow it rattles away and into the hands of Everett Jr. Disrupted by R.J. Davis, so it'll be Ashley Ridge basketball. Timeout on the floor. We'll take it as well. Ridgeview forging ahead in the later stages of the second quarter as they look for yet another state championship in the Palmetto State. Seventh trip in 9 years. They've won all 6 for the Blazers out front. Several of their activities already candidates for the Akeem Anastapoulo play of the game. We'll select that for you in the fourth quarter. Certainly some Ashley Ridge efforts on the other side worthy as well. That's the Akeem Anastapoulo play of the game. We'll pick it in the fourth quarter. But again, Coach, 7th trip in 9 years, and they've won all 6 in the state environment.
Yeah, I think I can spell the word dynasty.
Certainly seems to be the case for this team right now. Up 9 and looking to try and pull away a bit here. Key possession for Ashley Ridge. It'll stay with the Swamp Foxes.
Well, next time that you do the play of the game, I want you to spell that word that I can't even pronounce.
Well, it's hard enough to say these things sometimes, you know. But we're doing the best we can with all the help we can get from everyone on our crew in the truck and beyond.
All right, so now we
couldn't do it without them.
We see a zone look right here. The 6'6" kid out at the top.
Biggest challenge at times is protecting ourselves over here, as we found out in that last game, right?
That's right.
Had one coming our way, and your sidekick here, the southpaw, had to stick the hand out. Pull a Coach Lau at once. All right, all kind of time there, and they tried to get it just up to the rim. Didn't work out. Here come the Blazers. Down the lane, right side, R.J. Davis.
Boy, that's nice. You give it up, you get it back. That's just good basketball.
After all that from Ashley Ridge, the bucket belongs to Ridgeview.
Now, this defense, see, it's going to force you further out than you want to be to start with. And then if you do get it inside to the free throw line area, then you've got to go up against length and athleticism. So good defense, good move by Coach Staley.
You seem to want to tell me defense wins championships, right?
It usually does.
And they have been the evidence of that over that run we were discussing coming back from break. Forceful in there was Davis, and it'll go the other way. So possession for Ashley Ridge. These seem like key possessions, Coach, to kind of hang within striking distance, because you look up now and all of a sudden it's double digits.
Right, and you know, you're 2 minutes away from halftime. You know, I know if you're Ashley Ridge, okay, we're down 11. Let's get this to 6, 7. You're not going to make up 11 points for half, but you know, get this to within 6 or 7 before half would be my goal.
Ashley Ridge, 9 from Everett juniors so far, 7 from Pinckney. Those two have been quite the combo for this team. There was a turnaround, but R.J. Davis was waiting.
And that's what I mean. You got it inside, but now you've got to shoot over a tall player there.
Well, here's a break opportunity. And Reamer is going to be whistled for the traveling violation on the fast break. Just when it looked like something positive might be transpiring for Ashley Ridge, it's a turnover.
Well, and, you know, Staley, in my opinion, that was a bad shot. I mean, the kid gets a hand on it. And then that leads, because he's your guard, to get back in defensive transition. Now you're about to give up a layup. But fortunately for them, they got the traveling call there.
Well, this Ridgeview squad, coaches Hunter, Savage, Levy, Murray, Smith, Davis, alongside Coach Joshua Staley. And then you look into that huddle, Coach Brad Dobbles. He has Tyrone Grant, David Turner, Will Gibbs. You know, you can speak to this. We don't give as much love as we probably should to the surrounding members of those coaching staffs. I know you had a lot of good ones over the years, and they really are critical to the success when you get to this point.
Oh, my goodness. I was blessed at Spartanburg High School. I had, you know, like 3 assistant coaches, Bill Dees, Lee Dillon, Dan Smith. They were with me for 20 years. And that loyalty and, you know, the system we ran. So, yeah, I certainly appreciate that as a coach.
Yeah, so a little nod, a tip of the cap, whatever you want to call it, to all members of both these staffs getting their teams here. You know, we say it from time to time. It's worth reminding everybody, you're a champ when you get here. You've either won the lower state or you've won the upper state, and you're in a championship environment for the right to claim the whole enchilada, as they say. We'll see who does that tonight.
Now, I don't think I could have gotten my staff to wear a bow tie and a vest like Josh Staley does.
They're all matching. They know the environment. They've had a little rehearsal or two in being here, right?
Oh,
regularly in this environment. So well prepped for the moment, for sure. And he was taught well. Remember, we talked about that connection between the two coaches that they certainly reveled in during their time together in the press conference this week. Fingerprints of one coach certainly on another, as is the case in this sport that's a small family in so many ways. Down the baseline, looking for the jam, wouldn't fall. And able to gather it up in the end. C.J. Moore will end up with the bucket.
Well, you get a break when he missed the dunk, but then there's that offensive rebound, and, you know, too big, too tall.
Outscoring them 17-7 in this quarter. Ridgeview has stretched out an advantage after it was a one-possession basketball game following the first period.
Well, Ridgeview, you're tall and you're quick. That's a good combination in basketball.
3 won't go this time, and that's out of bounds just in front of us after the contested pass by Geathers. Yeah, Coach, you look at three-point land right now. Ashley Ridge 3 of 10. Ridgeview 2 of 7. And overall, Ridgeview 13 of 23, 56% from the field, while Ashley Ridge is 7 of 21 so far on the game.
All right. And, you know, if you're Ridgeview, certainly with only 17 seconds, you're going to get the last shot of this quarter. So you're going to go in with double-digit lead.
Already finding themselves up by 12. And it'll stay right where it is. It rims out as Ridgeview will carry the advantage into the half. The returners, the Blazers, making it a familiar refrain, being here in the state championship environment, will lead at 32-19 at the break. Third quarter underway with a drive down the lane for Ashley Ridge and an answer on the other end from Ridgeview. This crew picking up right where they left off. And JT Van Callen, who had the first maybe significant moment of the game for the Blazers, has the first significant moment of the third quarter. Three on the other end won't go out of the hand of Ben Duncan.
Well, right out of the half, it looked like, a 4-point swing. You had a chance for a layup down there, and he tried to dunk the ball. And then you get a run out, an easy two. So basically, you're looking at a 4-point swing right out the gate.
Well, they were eager to go. Getting rolling here in this third quarter.
Yes, sir.
Inbound coming, Talon Staley. You know by now, at just one shy of the quarter-century mark in the semifinal game. He works it down. It goes to the interior, and R.J. Davis, who's already putting together a fine state championship day, has another basket.
Well, quick start. Not what you wanted to see for Brad Dobble. Right out of the gate, they're knocked you in the mouth to start with here.
Looking to his leader. It's in the hands of one of his leaders right now, Gathers. Remember, Gathers wears jersey number 5. He hit the free throw against James Island to seal it, and he hit a shot in Florence with 1 second to go, which put them in the state championship environment. So you look at Javion Gathers, what the junior has been. He averages right at 10, 29 games played with 3 assists or so, and those moments, I mean, these guys, the combo of the guys you're talking about, Everett and Gathers, who put those big-time moments together. You got to rely on them now, Coach.
Yeah, that's true.
And speaking of it, on cue, here's Gathers. Down the left side of the lane, just enough kiss off the glass. Somehow he worked through the length that time.
That was a tough shot, tough finish. I thought it was going to be blocked, to be honest.
Just as we call for it, Javion Gathers, the junior, rising to the occasion. Now in the hands of Pinckney, and he'll be fouled.
That was a good foul because they were about to get a run out and easy too.
So Ashley Ridge not going away here, Coach, finding a way to dig deep when they need to have it. You said it. It's going to require a bit of a run right now after the way Ridgeview closed out the half. Remember, they outscored Ashley Ridge 17-7 in the second quarter to take the 13-point lead at the intermission.
Well, right now, if you can, with almost 6 minutes, and you're down, 15 points, try to cut that in half going into the fourth quarter.
You're working in increments at this point, is what you've told me over the years.
Yeah, you're not going to get a 10-point play, so let's go and try to get it down. Good start, couldn't finish.
Now, Pinckney had himself in position, just didn't quite elevate enough. Speaking of elevating enough, R.J. Davis with the slam.
And from Staley, we're sitting here at half court, and Staley saw what we saw right here at half court and makes the play for the great lob. Good finish.
Talon Staley, another family memory to hang his hat on. This is going to be an Anastapulo Play of the Game nominee, as it's the loudest exclamation point that's been put on the end of any sentence in this championship game thus far.
Right, and long before he made the pass, he saw the play.
Well, a reminder, our Play of the Game going to be brought to you by Akeem Anastapulo when all is said and done. Don't scream, call Akeem. That's the mantra. 800 all sevens. That's a candidate for our Akeem Anastapulo Play of the Game. And it runs it out to 38-21 as they've started with a 6-2 split in this third quarter after that tremendous second period.
Right, and it's certainly danger zone. That was a good timeout by Coach Dobbles there. He senses that this game's starting to get away from him. So good timeout on his part. Settle his team down a little bit, and let's cut into this lead. And that's easier said than done.
Yeah, this Ridgeview team split with Westwood, played in the Bojangles Bash, and And had C.A. Johnson, a team we'll see tomorrow in that scenario, and playing against, as we said, is his old head coach here. So many of the storylines that have emerged. And we alluded to this in the first quarter, and you talked about it, but this has really become a team that people keep their eyes on nationally, not just in the Palmetto State.
Oh, no doubt. No doubt. These guys can compete with anybody. And if I'm not mistaken, their player of the year last year at Ridgeview left and would be with this team right here now. So, you know, how good could they have been?
And yet here they are, and the coach who's won state titles with 3 different schools and had such success here. Coach Staley has his team playing well, and they stay on target. DJ Wiley with the basket.
Yeah, they're rolling right now. Everything's working defensively. Just tough to go up against this crowd.
Pinckney amongst the tall trees. He finds a shooting window.
I'll tell you, that's a tough shot. A lot of contact, and he made it.
Shane Pinckney has 9. He has 9. Everett Jr. has 9. And those two proving quite a combo for Ashley Ridge. Down the lane, and a foul before he gets there as R.J. Davis saw the basketball stripped away.
And I talked about the Blythewood girls about being unselfish. His team is unselfish. They are very much, they don't care who scores. They are a very, very unselfish team.
Down in the heart of it. And now hard drive to the bucket. Boy, what DJ Wiley has done the last couple of trips down the floor. Vintage. 3 from the corner, rims out.
Yeah, I just checked my roster now. Wiley there, heck, junior, so back next year.
He'll be back for more. You know, you think about the senior, obviously, Talon Staley making one more set of memories with his dad, but the rest of the starting unit all on that junior class, and it's a wealth of riches, that junior class. A lot of strong juniors on this group, including this guy. And then Callan lays it in, and DJ, JT, RJ, CJ, those combinations of those couple of letters and those first names working well for Ridgeview for a long time.
And you check your roster, another junior just make that play.
That's right. Baseline, it's gathered up by Everett. And slowing things up, this gets physical inside, and there's going to be a foul call that we'll sort out on the other side of the break. Ridgeview is strong in the third as they were in the second, and the Blazers staying in command in South Carolina as they look to stay atop the hill in 5A.
Yeah.
When it comes to on-the-road protection, Farm Bureau Insurance brings full court coverage and fast break savings. We just rolled out some new lower auto rates across the state. Check them out. See how much you can save by scanning the QR code on your screen or find an agent near you. That's the Farm Bureau Insurance promise to you. 44-23 for Ridgeview at the 3:28 mark of this third quarter, and an inbound coming for the Blazers as they look to go the length of the floor. Of course, Ashley Ridge making the 2-hour journey up from Somerville in the Low Country, and Ridgeview remaining right here in the heart of the Midlands and trying to remain at the helm of the state's basketball prowess as they've opened up an advantage here. And whistle going to mean a chance to go to the line perhaps for more, as there are free throws brought to you by Stewart Law Offices coming your way. Haven't had a chance to tell you in a while. One moment can change your life for sure, but Stewart Law Offices is there. Over 25 years of protecting the rights of the injured. You can check them out, stewartlawoffices.net today. All right, R.J. Davis numbers on the screen for you. Solid effort already here in a state environment.
Yeah, almost a double-double right now. So he's got his point, so he needs one more rebound.
Of course, Davis, a guy who had the 6 rebounds, 5 blocks, 4 assists, and he had 23 points alongside the 24 from Talon Staley. the last time out when they came from behind to take care of the Burns Rebels in that semifinal contest. And this Ridgeview team right now rolling that right on into a sizable advantage.
Well, and you look at the Ridgeview team, and there's probably 8 guys that he has on that basketball team that are kind of interchangeable and could start for most teams in the state.
That's a great point, Coach. You go to the depth of their roster. Guys like this, headliners, DJ Wiley with the Safe Federal Credit Union 3. And another whistle and a traveling call that'll turn it over. By the way, all our 3-pointers in this contest, like the one you just saw a moment ago, brought to you by Safe Federal Credit Union. Family values, forward vision at Safe Federal Credit Union. Check them out. Sponsors of the state championship environment. Inside 2.5 minutes in the third.
Right. And I think I'm right in that Staley is the only senior that's out there on the court.
Yeah, we were talking about that. Out of the starting unit, it's a lot of sophomores and juniors. And you even look at the role players that are coming off the bench, Coach. A lot of sophomores and juniors, including some freshmen mixed in there. It's going to be a big loss for the head coach to not look out there and see his own son moving forward. But the pieces he'll have returning remain impressive. And speaking of looking out there and seeing the memories he's made with his son, Staley on cue. Talon Staley, that is the senior, knocks one home.
And there's a younger Staley that's on that bench right now.
He will have another. You are correct. Jason Staley, the freshman guard, is in the pipeline as well. Here's a look at Talon Staley, who's leaving his mark on this program.
Yeah, like I said, when he's hitting the 3-point shot, he is a real weapon for that team because he understands the game so well.
And Coach, Joshua Staley saying this year they've slowed it down a little more to enjoy that family relationship, that they've taken it in a little more this year, and rightfully so, with it being his senior campaign. Clayton Everett Jr. with a Safe Federal Credit Union 3 for Ashley Ridge. Swamp Foxes still making their presence known.
Right, good to see him making a little noise here. He's an all-state player, had a great year.
Getting his own rebound, putting it back up. C.J. Moore will have a chance for 3 the old-fashioned way.
If it gets on that rim, Ridgeview's got a chance to get it. A better chance than Ashley Ridge, to be honest.
He's got 6 already, and this is what the most recent points look like there. And C.J. Moore to the line to try and add another. That rims out. Pinckney bringing it up the floor. Goes left hand, kicks to the corner, and there's a 3. Bit off the mark from Jai Gibbs. But ended up being a positive in the end.
Well, back-to-back baskets by Everett, so good for him.
Everett making something out of it. And you said it, guy who averages 22, right at 9 rebounds, does a little bit of everything, as does he. Talon Staley, who had the shot from the perimeter a moment ago, one from close proximity here for the senior. Boy, that's a nice fadeaway type look. Pinckney again. Boy, Pinckney's putting together quite a solid effort. He's in double figures, Coach.
Very impressive. He's done some really nice things for his team.
And he's another senior. The senior on the Ashley Ridge side of things. Of course, he's one of a handful. He, Everett, who we've talked about, Duncan, a senior, out of that starting group. Then you got Garner, Terry off the bench, Ward, who were also seniors on this Ashley Ridge squad. So more experienced squad in terms of classification, opposite all the experience in the state championship environment Ridgeview brings. Here's Chris Horton. He had a big 3 earlier in the contest. His only points until now. He knocks down a Stewart Law Office's free throw. Give him 4 in the contest.
Right, you better cover him. Don't give him any room, because he is an excellent outside shooter.
Talked about all those 3s he hit. Every one of his buckets and all of his points came from 3-point land in the upper state championship game. He's knocked 2 in from the charity stripe here to run his total to 5 in the contest. Fresh legs, a few subs working their way in as we speak. You saw on your screen, looked like one more coming perhaps. At next horn, Brandon Mack wants to work his way into the contest. He'll stay at the scorer's table as that goes off the rim. Trying just to get something up there. Pinckney, he'll draw contact. And the foul's going to go against Greg Williams. Going to be the first whistle his direction.
And you like to see that if you're, you know, the Ashley Ridge team. I mean, they're getting their lunch handed to them right now, but Pinckney is really playing hard, competing, and he's had a good night.
Absolutely, and they're dealing with something that a good portion of the state has dealt with in the state championship environment for now the 7th time, as well as across region play and in bashes and tournaments across the country. This is a Ridgeview team that has put together many nights like this in the last decade or so. 20.9 remaining in the 3rd. Blazers finding themselves just over a quarter away from keeping the celebration right here in the Midlands. You know, we just saw in the 5A ranks on the girls' side a moment ago, back-to-back champions and repeat championships. Ridgeview closing in on yet another in its own right. Rebound underneath Mack, and he'll put it back. The senior Jordan Mack with a basket. Just ahead of the horn, and it reaches the threshold of 60 for a Ridgeview team that's surging.
I don't have an answer.
Not many have had an answer for this Blazers squad, and they are in control after 3 in Columbia. New environment, same look from R.J. Davis and company as Ridgeview is well out front through 3. Our Palmetto Bath stats through 3 quarters of action. Coach, stat sheet tells a story.
61% field goal percentage for Ridgeview. I think the only thing Coach Staley can be mad about, he's only shooting 50% at the free throw line.
Palmetto Bath experts in fast, beautiful tub and shower remodels, serving Columbia, Greenville, Asheville. Learn more at palmettobath.com. And our points in the paint brought to you by Holy City Heating and Air. 40-14 the split there. Heating and Air solutions for every season. That's Holy City Heating and Air. Thanks to our folks at Holy City Heating and Air. How about this? Folks down near the Holy City gonna love the way this one closed out. Nice job hanging tough for Everett Jr., who will have an and one chance.
And that was not an easy shot. He had to bring it up, scoop it around. He's a good player. He's gonna make somebody a good college player.
Already with 16 in the basketball game. Was going for an additional point there. We didn't work out from the charity stripe. 3 ball off the mark and right in the heart of the paint on the SEC logo. It rims out on Mack. Coach, one more number for you out of all those numbers we showed you a moment ago, and that's 16. 16 miles. The trip for Ridgeview to here at Colonial Life Arena in an effort to claim another championship. They're now 7:22 or so away from it. And 28 minutes, we're told, the trip would take right now if you wanted to make it. They're trying to carry a trophy those 28 minutes, and they are doing it. Coming into the 4th quarter up by that many, 28. The lead changing a little bit with that bucket from Ashley Ridge a moment ago, but they're trying to reinstill that advantage. Maybe +1 in front of the iron. And Ashley Ridge with a takeaway here.
Well, you're just, you know, kind of playing out the string at this time. You know, we know the outcome already. It's going to be a Ridgeview championship. But, you know, hey, let's give respect to Ridgeview, to Ashley Ridge. They're trying, you know, to be competitive. They're playing hard. They're just a little overmatched. Right, well,
you also, and again, as we said, many teams have been across the course of this run for Ridgeview. And in the state championship environment, we talked about the trip they're trying to make and the journey they're trying to complete. You know, something about being here in the state championship environment that they've relished. Perfect when they've been here. But I'm with you. The Swamp Foxes of Ashley Ridge showing plenty of fight. That's Everett Jr. again. Coach, he's got 18 to pace this squad, and Ashley Ridge continuing to show tremendous fight here.
Yeah, he's had a nice game. And hey, you know, Ashley Ridge, you're sitting there, you're 23-7. You've won 23 basketball games. That's a heck of a year.
Team that went through a little bit of a tough spurt in the middle of the year after starting 15-1. They had some close games, but they got it right in the playoffs. Talked about James Island, a free throw to seal it. And of course, the semifinal environment Big, who can forget the buzzer-beating moment that made the difference there, and guys like Everett and Geathers and what they've done to propel this team to this point. It really is a memorable year that they're continuing to work their way through for the last 6 and change. That's gathered up nicely. That's a valiant effort by Everett there to save possession. And down the right side of the lane, Pinckney looking for a little contact. It's out of bounds, but it'll come in from the baseline.
I think he found that contact.
Yes, he did. Didn't find the whistle he wanted.
No, he didn't find the whistle, but he did find the contact.
You're right about that. He's going to inbound it from the baseline. Valuable minutes for both these teams and some of those players that are coming back in a state championship environment, even if, as you said, the separation is so sizable at this point. There's a turnover, and set to inbound is Jordan Mack over there. I go back to your point from earlier. You know, you look at this Ridgeview roster, and one of the things we noticed in preparing for the game this week is the depth on this roster is so impressive.
Well, as I said, there's 8 guys, 9 guys off that team, and they could start for most 5A, 4A basketball teams in the state. So they just come at you at waves.
And depth on both sides. How about Lee with that block a moment ago? And then Garner on this end. He drains the Safe Federal Credit Union three-pointer. We saw Marquise Lee, the junior guard, with the block on one end of the floor, and Gerald Garner, the senior guard, with the bucket on the other end. He just hit his average, his game average for the season with that three-pointer. No answer on the other end of the floor for Ridgeview this time, and now a foul underneath. That looks to be perhaps on Lee.
Well, Garner being a senior, so he had a good senior moment right there. Nailing the three, it looked good from the time it left his hand.
That was a good kind of senior moment.
Exactly.
You talk to me about other senior moments from time to time.
I know more about those.
This is the kind you want to relish. And we certainly love to see the seniors do well, no matter which camp they're in. Those seniors with all the wisdom and experience of life are those seniors making their final run through a given state championship environment. Big time cheers as James Ross enters the basketball game, the junior forward. Going to see some action for the Blazers.
And another 6'5" coming in, and he's a good-looking athlete.
Back of the iron on this Chris Horton free throw. The preferred appliance free throw is off the mark. Here's
Coach Staley may have to get his boys back there and make them shoot free throws now there.
You say, from a coaching standpoint, there's always an area or two that you focus on, right?
No,
that would be his.
I'd say, heck, we're winning big, but, you know, guys, we're shooting 50% at the free throw line.
And we told you just a moment ago, James Ross into the contest, one of the juniors seeing some action here. And a whistle as it stops with 4:49 to play. You know, we've seen teams go on the kind of runs over the years that Ridgeview's putting together now across multiple sports, and you invoked the term dynasty a bit ago. I think it's safe to say you come to the state championship 7 times in 9 years, and you're about to finish it off to win all 7. That term can certainly be invoked here, as a foul's going to be on A.J. Ward, it looked like underneath. And Coach, when you kind of glance back across the landscape of the history of the state, you've seen a great deal of it. This is one of those teams now in the conversation with some of the greats of all time.
Yeah, unfortunately, I've been on the receiving end of some of that. Some of the great teams that Tim Whipple had, you know, 6 state championships. Mark Huff at Gaffney, Thomas Ryan at Dorman, you know, and that's just the upstate. So, you know, Ridgeview, you've got to put their name in the same category, and they're trying to go beyond that.
Just about to empty the bench now, as they're going to be 7 for 7 in the state environment if everything goes well down the stretch here. C.J. Moore coming back. You see Wiley into the contest. Alan Staley is back into the mix now as those main individuals are there with 4:41 to play, about to perhaps play their last stretch of basketball together.
If you're Ashley Ridge, you don't like to see them empty the bench like that.
In that way, right?
Not to see that coming back. Yeah. So they'll play another minute or two, and then they'll all go
That's
out.
the point. This is the last stretch for this group. Now, last stretch for Talon Staley only. The rest of this group has more basketball in its future.
That's right.
Yep. But last stretch of 2026. as this is going to be a moment where Coach Staley's in position to grab him if he chooses to, one at a time, for a nice hand clap for their efforts this year, or perhaps all in unison in a bit. We'll see. But 4 and change remaining in what is the cherry on top, the finishing touch on what has been another tremendous campaign for Ridgeview.
Man, that's got to be a special feeling for Josh Staley and his family to coach his son and to have the success they've had. And, you know, just, you know.
And you love what he said in the press conference, Coach, that they enjoyed it so much more this year as senior year.
True.
A lot of movement out top. C.J. Moore. If you're wondering about their contributions in this state championship environment, Staley with 10, Wiley with 12, Davis with 11, and Collin with 10, Moore with 6 of the group currently on the floor for Ridgeview.
Well, you know, and it's one thing to have great talent, which they do, but you're looking at a Ridgeview team that is well coached. Josh Staley can coach with anybody, and you know, their team's unselfish. They play great defense. They have great chemistry. You know, give him credit.
A moment for Clayton Everett Jr., who's had quite a state championship. That just gave him 20 points on the night, and he sat back there long enough, finally had a takeaway and a slam.
Now, as good as Ridgeview is, if Clayton Everett was on the Ridgeview team, somebody's going to have to sit down because he's going to get playing time.
I think he would find a spot, wouldn't he?
No doubt.
You talked about how great Coach Staley has been. Certainly he gave a nod to Brad Dowels and his impact, his fingerprints on his life and on his career. And, you know, his team still fighting just as you would expect across the final 2.5 minutes of this one.
Well, in simple terms, I mean, Ridgeview, they run a lot of good stuff on offense. They're just not out there playing pickup ball, you know.
And the defense is second to none with what we've seen.
Relentless.
A lot of good movement. Again, no shot clock in South Carolina basketball, so this team content just to kind of play a keep away game right now. And an effort to melt that clock. Taken away. And trying to stay in control. Nearly laid it home. That was Everett Jr. again. Boy, the effort he has put forth in this one, and the game he has had will be remembered.
And what I like is, as a coach, you look at that play. They get a steal. They're up 30 points. Let him go get the layup. No, they chased him down and made him take a tough shot. And that's coaching.
Still the case. Benches looked as if they're going to empty one more time. Going to be a loud applause in Colonial Life Arena for the starters for a Ridgeview squad working on toward a title. But Ashley Ridge hanging in there, making their presence known in the state championship environment. Still time to stick around for our Experience Columbia Player of the Game. Experience Columbia, Columbia SC, your next perfect getaway awaits you in the heart of South Carolina. Come to the state capitol. Experience Columbia, that'll be the sponsor of our Player of the Game. And there's about a minute 38 left before Ridgeview celebrates yet another title. 7 in 9 years, 7 for 7 in the state championship environment. And they're playing Sweet Carolina, the fans into it. Here at Colonial Life Arena. And I will say this, Coach, is something we haven't talked a lot about, but it has been incredibly sweet to be back here in this facility and on this floor. It's the right location for it in so many ways, and the fans have embraced it, the teams have embraced it, and it's been great to be back at Colonial Life Arena.
All right, well, they don't ask me, but this is where it needs to be.
Certainly has been welcome. You can see the way the fans have turned out yesterday, tonight. Reminder, another full day of basketball tomorrow for you. Full slate of games from right here at Colonial Life Arena, home of the Gamecocks in Columbia. We'll have them for you on Sinclair's family of networks. All the broadcasts will be presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration for you all day long tomorrow to starting at noon. And Blazers now just over a minute away from the corner. Trying one was Jason Staley, the younger of the Staley family, and you heard the whole building on edge as he tried a three. So many players on both sides, contributors into the game now. Chance to play in some key state championship moments and environments. Jai Gibbs tosses it over. Gerald Garner, who had a big 3 earlier for Ashley Ridge, trying to set a pick there. Jaden Williamson. Jaden Williamson now gives it up far side. Nate McKee. And that rattles out on an effort from Evan Terry as we get some of the names in. Up the floor it comes. Jason Staley with it. Evan Scott tried one. A takeaway for Kabir McLawhorn. And how about that? A basket in a state championship environment to remember. Is trotting back up the floor. Dante Phillips a part of this unit. Go for broke from Scott. And a 3 from the corner. A state championship memory for Nate McKee, the junior guard.
Good memory for them.
Yeah, these are moments that can last a lifetime. Staley will try one ahead of the horn. It won't go, but the Staley family celebrates anyway. Coach Josh Staley and Ridgeview has picked up a 7th title in the last 9 campaigns. And Coach, a perfect 7 for 7 in the state championship environment as 5A Division I champions once again.
That is impressive. Hard to win 1, but to get 7 out of 9, you just tip your hat and say, hey, the bar's been raised.
Did it with his lone senior, a guy who bears his name, Talon Staley, the father-son combination, making it happened. Talking about the lone senior out of the starting unit, of course, Jordan Mack, a senior who made some contributions in this one. But that's the limit of the senior class. Everybody else coming back as Ridgeview will look to keep the train moving.
Well, like I said, the bar's been raised high. Somebody's going to have to step up to the plate and knock them off. With all due respect to Ashley Ridge, because they had a great season, but I saw the upper state game, Burns and Ridgeview. That was probably the state championship.
In this situation, Ridgeview has found a way when they get to the state championship to claim the state championship. Title number 7 in just under a decade. We'll be back with the trophy presentation. A whole lot more coming your way as our broadcast presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration continues right after this. Ridgeview champs again in the Palmetto State. Making it count, 7th trip in 9 years, 7th title as a result for the Blazers of Ridgeview, the standard at this classification in the state of South Carolina with another title, this one of the 65-44 variety. That's the final time to look at our play of the game, and it's going to be the rising high alley-oop dunk by R.J. Davis, our Akeem Anastapulo play of the game. That was one of the highlight moments to remember, that's for sure. And R.J. Davis ended with 11 points, 8 rebounds, had 3 blocks along the way as well. And you can see him sitting there just ahead of that Gamecock logo where his team has grabbed its most recent championship here in Columbia. And he is going to stand tall as our player of the game right here in Columbia, brought to you by Experience Columbia SC. Some of his handiwork. And a reminder, Columbia SC, your next perfect getaway awaits you in the heart of South Carolina. R.J. Davis, the selection as the player of the game, the Experience Columbia player of the game. He and the Blazers getting the job done one more time. And, Coach, we talked about how sweet it must be for Coach Josh Staley. Another title with his son, Talon Staley, and his senior campaign. This is the latest of the many moments they will remember. But he's got so many young players like the one you just saw on the highlight packages coming back looking to do this again.
Well, and I was just sitting here while you were, going over all that, and, the player of the game, well deserved. And my first thought was, hey, oh, by the way, he's only a sophomore.
Going to be a lot more basketball in his future, and you would think a lot more basketball of the championship variety in Ridgeview's future for what they have been of late. Big thank you to all of our sponsors, A&I Fire and Water Restoration, 1-800-GOT-JUNK, Soccer 5, the Stewart Law Offices, Preferred Appliance, Palmetto Pride, Holy City Heating and Air, Palmetto Bath, Safe Federal Credit Union, Peak and Fowler Law Firm, Akeem Anastapulo Law Firm, Dental, Dentures, and Implants, Lexington Health, Farm Bureau Insurance, and Ingalls Markets, all sponsors of this broadcast, presented by A&I Fire and Water Restoration. And speaking of dental, dentures, and implants, you know they're all smiles in Ridgeview, so we bring you the Blazers as our dental, dentures, and implants smile cam. Coach, plenty of reasons to smile if you're Ridgeview with the way they perform every time they come to the state title environment.
Well, they put on a good show. It's good basketball. It's worth watching. You know, my first comment to Josh Staley after the game here is going to be, Coach, I enjoy watching your team play. It's good basketball.
Well, and you love the defensive side of it as well. For all the talk about the offensive prowess and the high-flying moments that we show you, it's that pestering defense that turned the tide in this one yet again.
Well, their defense, and they're unselfish, and they enjoy playing together.
All those things add up to a championship environment, and trophies being handed out as we speak. We should say congratulations in order. We told you, Coach Staley and his staff, Coach Hunter, Coach Savage, Coach Levy, Coach Murray, Coach Smith, Coach Davis, all a part of this effort. You can't talk about it without Dr. Brenda Mack, the principal, and Brian Rosefield, the AD, coming to mind. So many that make days like today possible, and no matter where he goes, this guy seems to know how to bring home a championship. They're going to make that 16-mile, 28-minute journey to fill up the trophy case a little more after another successful night.
Right. Give all the praise and the kudos to Ridgeview. If you're Ashley Ridge, you know, you get on that bus and you say, we won 23 basketball games. And to be quite honest, you could probably play this game 10 times and Ridgeview would win all 10 of them.
Well, and that's the case with just a lot of people you can put on that other bench. This Ridgeview team has been a machine when they reach the state championship environment. And the latest chapter in what you appropriately call the dynasty in South Carolina sports right now has been written.
Resides right here in Columbia.
And it's going to stay in the Midlands, and fitting location for the fans to celebrate. And now you're going to take that one snapshot, that moment that will last a lifetime. And that really is the story of this whole scenario, Coach, is these championship moments are about the people you do it with, the relationships you build, the teams you create, and those are the bonds that last long after the basketball stops bouncing.
Right, and as a player, you don't want this to be your defining moment in your life.
Exactly.
But the lessons that you've learned, you know, in practice and playing for a Ridgeview program, they'll carry you to a lot of success when you leave.
Isn't that what sport can do? You know, life is about so much more, about what we do with our days, about how we serve, you know, as we often say, our God and our country and our community and our families. All that is more important than anything else. It's foundational to it all. But the lessons you learn in a championship moment like these, the way they shape you, the preparation they give you for a lifetime of impact and a lifetime of making a difference as a citizen and as a family member, and as we said, and in so many ways, that's the value of this beyond something that goes into a trophy case.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
But this picture is the one that will hang on the wall. And this trophy, meaning the latest banner, will hang from the rafters for the Blazers of Ridgeview as they play We Are the Champions over the loudspeakers here at Colonial Life Arena. They remain just that. And Coach, maybe the finishing touch on this before Coach Staley comes over is to say that there's no end in sight with so many of these young players. Yes, Talon Staley's moving on, and the memories they made together, those individual father and son memories may now have the finishing touches being placed on them, and the 2026 edition having the finishing touches placed on it. But you look at all the sophomores and all the juniors and some of the freshmen that are on this roster, this is going to be a force to be reckoned with for a while.
And if you're one of these sophomores or juniors for Ridgeview, you don't want to be the one to break the streak.
Well, that much is sure, and no reason to believe with the system that is now in place and the dynasty, as Coach Lau was talking about a moment ago, that has been created, that will not be the case, that it will just continue to be quite a run for this crew. And Coach, we're making let's get you a little bit more There you go. Should be ready. And I notice you're clutching to that basketball one more time.
Yeah.
We've made it a habit to visit with one another in moments like this. Your team seems to know when they get to the state championship environment exactly what to do with it. And you have to be incredibly proud that they finished another one off.
I'm really happy for the young men. They put a lot of time in. Their parents also sacrificed. A lot of moms and dads and aunties and grandmas allow their kids to work and put the time in. So we're just humbled and very grateful for the opportunity.
And I know for you, we were talking about it just a moment ago, it's about the lessons learned for a lifetime of preparation, even more so than necessarily the championship moment.
Absolutely. I want them calling me when it's time to get married and have baby showers. You know, we want to raise strong young men. So that's our biggest goal every year.
Got to ask you, though, the word dynasty gets thrown around. You talk about so much of what this decade has been for your program. What would you put your finger on as the 1, 2, maybe 3 core values or items that helped you sustain the success, Coach?
Man, just hard work, dedication, sacrifice, and integrity. You know, fighting to be a great person every single day is something we take for granted in today's society. So just teaching them how to work hard, be great people every day, and give it your best.
Well, that's a job well done. Congratulations on 7 for 7 in this environment. That's the head man for the 5A champions. And we will break away, come back, wrap things up in a moment as another tremendous day is in the books from the South Carolina State Championships. It has been something special to see what's happened here. Congratulations to Ridgeview as they take over or overtake Ashley Ridge and remain the champions in the 5A ranks. A reminder, full day for you tomorrow coming your way starting at high noon, but it's Ridgeview remaining atop the hill in 5A as the standard in South Carolina basketball.
This is the big time, ready, set, go.